Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Rachel, the Modern Shaman, and I'm glad you're here with me for yet another YouTube Q&A video of the week. If you are just seeing me for the first time or visiting or don't know that much about me and my services, I would love for you to visit my website, themodernshaman.net. It really is just a great hub of information. If you'd like one-on-one sessions with me here in my office or online, if you'd like to study further in your psychic development and shamanic awareness through my masterclass teaching curriculum, that is also online, as well as mentorship and spiritual entrepreneurship courses. So really, it's a lot of information that's there if you're seeking to go further in your path, and I hope you utilize it. Again, that's themodernshaman.net. Okay, let's get on to the question that you guys sent in for today. It says, Rachel, how do we move on from a bad habit or a toxic relationship with peace and grace without drama? Sometimes there's a compulsion to keep talking about the relationship over and over. And I wonder, is this because they're talking about me, or am I recreating the issue with new energetic chords? There's always a sense of unfinished business with this compulsion. How do I drop that without creating drama? Very good question. I think a lot of people will relate to that. And, it's kind of an interesting topic because it moves me into, when I'm reading it right now, I automatically think about parallel realities, which you may not, that's where my mind goes. You may not think about that when it comes to moving on, but essentially this is what a lot of relational lessons teach us in this material plane, is that our reality is unique unto ourselves. We literally live in our own world. We've heard that phrase or that euphemism like, oh, she's in her own world. This is literally true. If you can imagine this in terms of everyone's perspective that they see, the lens that they see the world through, the language that they tell the stories about their past and their hopes about their future, it's all in their own paradigm. It is literally their own world. And although we may have communal or agreed upon or shared upon experiences, the perspective from which we understand them and have meaning developed from them is completely unique unto anyone else. Just like a fingerprint is unique to you alone. Your world, your perspective, your understanding, and the meaning of that world and the living of it is literally unique unto you. And so we all live in our own independent world reality, okay? And when this comes up, I guess a lot of times when I see this come up or I talk about this to clients is because they are trying to shift out of what you're discussing or what you're asking about. A bad relationship, a bad habit. They essentially want to change the pattern of their linear trajectory, right? So they've had a habit of something and it's put them kind of on this cause and effect linear timeline. They've been doing, I don't know, maybe they are an addict and they've been doing the same habits with that addiction and they literally want to shift out of that completely. When you break a habit, when you drop a relationship and you completely cut from it, essentially you are shifting realities and moving into another parallel reality or timeline. Sometimes this is popularized by what's called quantum jumping. You can call it whatever you want to call it. That's just semantics and it's just a language to help you understand kind of what's going on. But in every moment, we are only living in this now moment. There really is no past because we can only live in this now. There is no future. We can only live in this now. The only time those actually exist is when we story tell them out loud, or we think of them in our thought forms, and therefore we are recreating them, but they're not actually a thing. The past is not a thing. You cannot get there. You are creating it in your thoughts when you think about it, and you are creating it when you speak about it. So you are always creating in the now. And so that now moment, as we all know, is all that exists. So if you can kind of stretch your mind into the awareness that your past literally is only existing as you speak of it in the present. And in the present, you can shift or have access to a new experience in that moment, because we're always creating our new experiences, right? That is the now. That is the power of this now moment. So that being said, when you are, say for instance, an addict, and you are, or trying to break out of a relationship, I'll just use the addiction as a simple example, and you were an alcoholic, and you shift and break that pattern, and you completely break it to where you have no desire to drink anymore. You have shifted into a new parallel reality of your life. In that moment, there is no past you that used to be an alcoholic. That doesn't even exist. That alcoholic never existed. The relationship, let me give that example. You move out of a toxic relationship, or you cut cords with something, and you move into a new present state where that never existed. That relationship never existed. And the only time that you may want to bring that in, or that may be useful to you, is if there's a lesson that you feel like is important that you remember. Then you create that lesson, and that memory is remembered in a positive manner because it holds that beautiful lesson for you. So be very conscientious of how you are creating your past, because literally you are creating a new past in every single now moment. Do you understand? I know that's kind of like a mind trip, but when I am tuning into future probabilities, when I am tuning into all of these things, reading people in terms of psychic readings, essentially we are tuning into those frequencies with which they are thinking about and putting the most predominant energy, whether it's in brainwave frequency form, right? If they're thinking about it and they're stating and or they're speaking about it and moving it into created frequency with their literal sound waves, talking about it. That is what we're tuning into, the most dominant energetic probability, because there's the most energy stored in that future probability. And so you can kind of follow that line of creation in the future. But anyhow, when you say, how do I move on with peace and grace without drama? You create that vibrational experience in the now, and you sustain it. That is it. It is not that complicated. We just don't do it very often. And so we are not practiced in this. But there's a lot of ways that people are kind of talking around this, or talking about the similar thing when it talks about, manifesting things. It's not really like you're trying to manifest something in the future. You are just literally creating that in the now. As you're creating that in your now, whether it be in your thought form or whether it be in your language, these are all just frequencies, sound waves that are measured, or brain waves that are measured, right? So this is a frequency. When you shift that vibrational oscillation, you literally shift into kind of like turning the dial on a radio station. You are turning the frequency to a new parallel reality. And there you have it. and then you're living in that space, and you just keep that dial tuned in, to that vibrational frequency. So you just keep creating in the now the experience of peace and grace. And when you notice, if anything, that the frequency starts to go back to something that it's used to, you stop and you shift back into grace and peace in the now, where you are happy in the now, you are without drama, and what have you. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. But I think the mental practice, this is why people teach meditation in so many different ways, because it's essentially strengthening of that muscle. Now, if meditation is difficult, it's you can get yourself into vibrational harmonic frequencies by environments that induce harmony. So, for instance, you can go in nature. This is why so many, like as a shaman, this is why so many natural ways of living are gaining popularity. People are going back to the earth and going back to natural herbs and, you know, plants and things like this. But essentially, the earth's resonance and it shifts, the Schumann resonance shifts a bit, but it typically stays within a vibrational frequency of around 7.83, 7.85 hertz. And that is measurable, and that is the Earth's frequency. Now, that is a direct corresponding link to our human hypothalamus. And that hypothalamus is in our brain, and it is the control center of our autonomic nervous system, our hormone secretions, our sleep cycles, basically like what makes our human experience. And when we are in the environment that keeps us in harmony, or keeps our hypothalamus regulated at that same 7.83 or 7.85 frequency, then we are essentially balanced. We will viscerally feel this. This is why it feels so good to be back in nature. It's one of the reasons why. There's a million reasons why, but it is literally our human balanced frequency is one with the earth, because we are in this material plane, living on this material plane. So as we are living and still in a human form, alive here on earth, then we find our sense of frequency balance here when we are most connected to nature and the heartbeat of the earth. The quickest way that I have found to get back to that harmonic balance is to sit on the ground, or place your body on the ground, lay on the ground, get your heart next to the ground, put your head or your forehead on the ground, and literally listen to the earth. Physically put your body there, because again, this is a frequency. It is a wave. It's an oscillation. Okay, so it is a movement of energy. And so it's this vibrational resonance that's coming out from the earth, and it's being picked up by all of these fine little filaments in our body and our brain that are receiving this frequency and seeking harmonious alignment with it. So that's an easy kind of hack to get yourself balanced into peace and grace. Then the creation of that now moves into the thoughts that you think, and you've got to keep those thoughts in that harmonic state of peace. Those kind of brainwave state, there's 5 brainwave states, right? And this is our mental frequency of what we're creating, the life we're creating. So there's gamma, which is that high, creative, very fast frequency. There is delta, which is that deep, like I'm totally asleep. There is beta, which is our awake, kind of logical, and this is around 8 hertz. It starts around 8, so it's a little bit above the Earth's frequency when we move into logical waking activity. There's alpha, which is our relaxed kind of state. That's from 8 to 12. And then there is theta, which is that meditative, deep relaxation, which is from 4 to 7 hertz. So we're kind of in this brainwave state of ease and grace. So these are actual physiological aspects of our life as a human, and you can move yourself into a peaceful brainwave state by bringing in things that induce that. Binaural beats, if you're familiar with that, drumming like native drums or drumming on skin, even here, like our heartbeat. That's usually around 4 hertz. 4 to 6 hertz, so it keeps you in that kind of lower theta meditative state. Binaural beats, like I said, I started talking about that. They have, you just put the headphones in, or stereo headphones that separate out the sound. They put one frequency in one ear, another frequency in another ear, and the differentiation between the two is created by your brainwave state. So it induces the specific brainwave state, and you can create that theta brainwave state or what have you. This is a peaceful state. When you are talking about not recreating the energetic chords, this is the practice of being able to stop a vibrational momentum, okay, pattern in frequency, right? Kind of like stopping a song or stopping yourself from saying something when you want to say it. There's this energetic momentum of a pattern that's been created, practicing stopping it and creating new in the now. Okay, so that is essentially habit breaking at its core, is what I'm talking about, but it is frequency based. And then you shift into a new frequency that creates a literal different universe from your perspective, right? And we're all just in this multidimensional experience. So we may, again, like have shared communal realities, but from your perspective and meaning of that reality, the way you live it out and express and understand it will be your own. So you can create that in the now. Each time, you just have to keep reminding yourself of that creation in the now. I hope that is helpful and that makes sense to you. There are some practical, like I said, tactical aspects to that, of just like being in nature more, moving yourself back, and then keeping your mental stamina and strengthening that mental muscle of being able to stop a vibrational pattern, notice it, and then move into the now that is peaceful, creative, joyful, and free. And that now, if you just stick to that and don't create from the past, don't bring in any past stories or memories attached to it, just in this here and now, what makes me feel graceful, it may not have anything to do with that past. Actually, it's better if it doesn't. Maybe it's an art piece. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's physical, like distraction that moves you into this moment, but gives you a state of peace and grace without drama. Think of the things that initiate that vibrational state for you and do those things. Okay. I will be back next week with another video. Blessings, you guys.